I recently conducted a quick poll on the Australian expat community in America to find out what foods they like and dislike. There was a very clear winner overall and a list of close to 40 different foods. So stick around as I count down the top 10 American foods that Australians living here cannot stomach.
Can you hear the thunder? Oh, you better run, you better take cover. Oh.
Now, not all food in America is bad. It has some amazing steaks, and it's also subjective. One person's caviar might be the other person's gross fish eggs. Coming in at number 10 is American candy. Australians are a little spoiled with our choices at home. Think those lolly selections at the corner store as a kid, and you won't really find any of them here. Now, candy is big business in the US of A. Not only is deciding what to give trick-or-treaters a big decision each year, but trends change, and to keep up with them, there is an annual best and worst candy list. There's a couple of candies on the worst list that Aussies agree with, but the big divide comes with one of America's favourites being very high on our list of things to avoid. So we'll get to that one a little bit later. Candy corn is one that most Aussies and Americans can agree on. It tastes horrible. It was invented in the 1880s and it was originally called chicken feed. And looking at it, you can probably tell why. It is a very popular item still for trick-or-treaters. Every year, and yet every year it makes it onto the top 10 worst candies in America. Does this mean that we are punishing our kids or just trying to give out candy that they won't eat? It's meant to taste like honey, sugar butter, and vanilla, but I'm not agreeing on that. It's also been described as looking like someone's teeth fell out, and again, I can understand that one too. They also make candy corn flavored Oreos. Yeah, nah. The other candy that was highlighted is hot tamales. Now, this is a cinnamon flavored candy that doesn't taste at all like its Mexican food namesake. It's one of the most popular candies in America, apparently, and it's loved by people such as Ellen DeGeneres, Madonna, Sofia Vergara, and Scarlett Johansson. It is not, however, loved by Aussies in America and is definitely seen as one of those candies to avoid. Americans list Tootsie Rolls as their least favourite candy of all. Funny, I just happen to like them. Next up on the list at number 9 is orange American cheese. Yes, you heard right, this is a thing here. Cheese that is orange. You'll see it everywhere. There's generally two different types. American cheese, and that's a processed cheese, and it's basically made of a mix of cheddar and Colby cheese, topped off with washed curd cheese. Sounds yummy, right?
64 slices of American cheese.
It has plastic-type texture and a bit of a bland flavour. The cheddar cheese that you buy here is also orange. Now, this is due to a natural food colouring being added, which is called annatto, and that comes from a tree that grows in Central and South America. The reason that it is dyed actually dates back to hundreds of years, even back to the UK. And this is when cheddar became really popular. The more yellow the cheese was, the greater the flavour. And this was caused naturally due to the time of year and the cow's diet, etc. People at the time knew that yellow cheddar had a better flavour than other white cheeses. Cheddar became so popular, in fact, that cheese shops were able to charge more for their cheddar cheese. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before sneaky cheesemakers realised that by adding a bit of dye to their white cheeses, they could trick people into thinking they were getting the authentic cheddar cheese. The more yellow the colour, the higher the price. So here we are today with orange cheese. Cheddar cheeses that have not been dyed orange are often referred to here as white cheddar or Vermont cheddar, even though they may not have actually been made in the state of Vermont. At number 8, green bean casserole. November brings Thanksgiving and all the turkey and trimmings that you can eat. Thanksgiving to me is probably my favourite holiday in America because it's not about presents, it's about the food. But there's one thing that Aussies in America do not want to see on that table, and that's green bean casserole. It's a casserole dish that is iconic. It came about in the 1950s thanks to Campbell's soup, mixing green beans, cream of mushroom soup, and French fried onions. It's estimated that on Thanksgiving, it's served at more than 20 million dinners around the country. Now, I'm on the fence about this one. I've had some good green bean casserole, and I've had some that kind of taste like pig slop. The fried onions on top do definitely help to give it a little extra something. Coming in at number 7, biscuits and gravy. Now in Australia, a cookie is called a biscuit, And a biscuit is more like a scone that you would eat with cream and jam. Now, I'm a fan of biscuits here. Cracker Barrel, they make a really mean biscuit. Eating that with melted butter together with eggs at breakfast used to be one of our traditions when we would first come to the US on vacations. But mixing it with gravy, honestly, it looks like vomit and kind of tastes that way to me as well. I'm not talking about the brown gravy that we're used to back home. This is typically a white, thick sawmill gravy, and it's made from the drippings of pork and flavored with black pepper. It is very popular in the South, and it came about due to the War of Independence in the late 1700s. A variation of the dish is served in the US military, and it's sometimes referred to SOS, which translates to shit on a shingle. Coming in at number 6, fried okra. And this is another southern dish, and it's one that I've tried a few times, but I am yet to be won over by it. The thing with okra is that the sliminess of it. It's a plant with edible seeds. It originated in West Africa, and it was even cultivated by the ancient Egyptians. Okra was first transported to the Americas by slave ships during the Atlantic slave trade. It's usually fried, and you can have it crumbed as well, made up like a fritter, typically used as a summer vegetable or a side. Definitely an acquired taste, and one that the majority of Aussies living here are saying a big no thank you to. Up next at number 5, Hershey's chocolate. This one really comes down to the difference between Cadbury's, which is Australia and the UK's most favourite chocolate, and America's favourite, Hershey's. There is a big taste difference, and much of this is due to Hershey's bars having a slightly sour milk flavour, toasted cocoa, and bitter aftertaste. Cadbury's chocolate bars are typically creamier and have a higher cocoa content. Hershey's typically use South American cocoa, whereas Cadbury source their cocoa from West Africa instead. I should point out too that Australian Cadbury's chocolate also tastes different to the Cadbury's in the UK. And again, it all comes back down to the natural ingredients that are being used, all the way down to what the cows eat. On to number 4 we go, and this is pumpkin everything. When the weather starts to turn a little colder, America goes pumpkin crazy. Pumpkin spice M&Ms, pumpkin spice yogurt, pumpkin spice creamer to go and put into your pumpkin spiced latte from Starbucks. So why is America so obsessed with pumpkin spice everything? 4 years ago, Starbucks almost single-handedly turned pumpkin spice into a $500 million industry. But Americans do have a unique history with pumpkins. They are largely native to North America, and colonial Americans took advantage of that. Nowadays, pumpkins also bring memories of the holiday, family events, and being together with loved ones. I'm guessing pumpkin spices are an acquired taste, and one that most Aussies living here have yet to acquire. Coming in at number 3, grits. Now they do taste exactly like they sound. Grits are kind of porridge made from coarsely ground dried maize.
What's this over here?
You never heard of grits?
They are then cooked in warm salted water or milk. They can be sweet or savoury, and there's different variations like shrimp and grits, grits with cheese and bacon. I've even seen them served with honey as well. The dish originated with the Native American Muskogee tribe, who traditionally called the areas around Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida their home. And that might explain why 75% of all grits in the United States are sold in the South. It's up to number 2 we go, and it is bread. This is a big one for expats, not only from Australia, but for Europeans as well. So I'll give you a few of the differences. The bread served in the US can look and taste very different. Preservatives are one reason for this. So in reality, bread doesn't actually need preservatives. It can be naturally made with wheat flour, yeast, water, and salt. Now, sugar is often found in American bread, and this is why we always complain on how sweet the bread tastes here. High fructose corn syrup is another common bread offender. Then we have bleached flour, which is also used in the bread here. Aside from the concerning chemicals that are being used in the bleaching process, it is also stripping the natural wheat grain of its germ and bran and gets rid of nutrients that are vital to our health. And here we are at the most hated American food by Australians living in the United States, Reese's Cups. There is nothing that makes me feel nauseated more than the smell of these overly sweet and sickly chocolate and peanut butter cups. I'm not alone. This was by far the most disliked food by Australians in the US for funnily enough, it's listed as America's favourite candy year after year after year. I guess that in that respect, America, we are at polar opposites. Whilst Reese's Peanut Butter Cups achieved modest success soon after its start in 1928, the candy's popularity and sales soared after Hershey's bought the company in 1963. So fast forward to the present, and it's not just the most popular candy produced by Hershey's, it's the most popular candy in the whole country, with annual sales of over $3.1 billion. Now, over the years, the company has also made many variations of the product, including adding a layer of caramel. So why don't Australians love these sickly sweet things? I think it comes down to an overpowering sweetness of the combination of the peanut butter and the use of Hershey's chocolate, which, as we already saw, we're not a fan of to start with. Of course, whether you like a food or not does come down to individual taste. My tastes have certainly adjusted, and I don't notice the difference nearly as much. That does not extend though to Reese's Cups. America, you can have that one all to yourself.